Well, hello and welcome to the wrap. This is a show rounding up all things Zwift from the last, well, this time 2 weeks. Actually, we were live. No, we weren't live last 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks, racing events, tech, fashion. We're on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. This is episode number 81 on Thursday, February 8th, 2024. We come at you live 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 p.m. NZT on Fridays. And let's get right on into it. The topics today, we're going to be talking about the ZRL TTT wrap-up from this past week, Zwift Racing League. Zwift Championships details have been released. Sounds like there's a golden Tron, big cash, crazy information to be chatting about. It's going to be a lot of fun to look at that. Also, a lot of announcements, both interesting as far as releases go on the business side of Zwift, as well as restructuring that's been happening at Zwift. We'll be talking on all about that. We'll also be hinting a little bit at the new Worlds format that was released for UCI Virtual Esports Worlds. Wahoo Kickr Run also out there as well, right next to the Kickr Core Zwift 1. And then some little hints at something that looks like a big spin series. So lots and lots going on. Maybe a couple other things that are optional at racing etiquette when people have dropouts, etc. So a lot to talk about. Also, our jersey jersey of the week is going to be the Cycle Nation. Obviously, I didn't mention, but there's our names. I'm Nathan Guerra. Anna Russell's next to me, and I'm in US of A. She's in New Zealand. Let's get right into it. Usually, we talk about what we've been up to for last week. Anna, what you been up to? Well, 2 weeks.
There we go.
2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. Extra lot there coming in. People are saying, is it going to be another 2-hour pod? Because I wasn't here for the last one. I was on holiday and I went to upload it and was like, holy, you and Barnes had a great
We went
chat.
off for quite a while, didn't we?
Yeah, that was good. So yeah, like completely honest, last week was totally on me. Sent Nathan a message maybe about like 4 hours before the show and I had completely fallen off a mental cliff. So yep, every few years, just a massive burnout, bit of anxiety going on, and just, mental cliff down the bottom. But anyway, feeling a lot better this week. So that's been good.
You look well rested. You look well rested.
Yeah, feel good. Yes, sometimes I just take on a little bit too much and it becomes a bit too much. But this week in Zwift, stoked with the TTT that we had in ZRL. I was on there with the team and like we absolutely crushed it. Like I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, honestly. So now I'm remembering, okay, that was actually one of the best time trials I've seen in Americas in quite a while. And honestly, I even said during the coverage, because we covered your guys's
I didn't know that.
We actually covered it. Yeah, because the plan was to cover the C's, and then we ended up because it was TTT day, we could spread out the coverage a little bit more, right? Because it wasn't like the narratives had more to do with time splits, so we were able to kind of go across a little bit more.
Nice.
And when you guys went out, I was like, did they go out too hot? Like, really? Really? And then all of a sudden it just kept extending. I was like, what is going on with them? What's the secret sauce here?
So, I mean, we had clear de-essing. I think the secret sauce is a bit of that and a bit of like, we've just been doing it for so long together, like years, that there's like Claire said herself, like she was just there kind of being a bit of a cheerleader and pulling us up if we needed it. But there was almost no talking and it was just so fluid. Like it was just like poetry in motion, right? So nice. And when I went back, because I'm a geek, and was like, man, I think that was our best one ever. I looked and we were like the third fastest women's team over all regions. We were 1/100th or 1,000th of a second off Wahoo Lacole, their A team, like their Grand Prix team, and like 15 seconds or so behind AO, their number one.
Yeah, Aonian. They had a negative split, and it was actually really impressive. We also covered theirs as well. So yeah, I mean, to be right there with that kind of level is insane. I gotta say, I got a question then because of an experience with our TTT. We had a very similar experience in the ZRL, but then today I just got done like an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago with the Thursday team time trial for 251.
OMG.
Number 2. With OMG. I do both with the OMG. We had 6 riders and I think we dropped one in ZRL, whatever, and then finished, and it was good. It was super solid. And we hadn't done it in a really long time, but we had all the usual suspects kind of. And a couple that hadn't been there were a little bit disruptive, but it was enough that we could be like, we could work around it. Yeah. We had a couple of people who were rusty, and then we had 2 newcomers at tonight's, which, like, I was wondering for you, if you get a newcomer amongst that poetry, does, like, look, man, this is a haiku. You can't just jump in the middle of all this. Like, you're not going to understand. And because there's so much silent communication happening, no one can read between your lines. And if you throw 1 or 2 in, too many, next thing you know, the stanzas are just out of control and there's total discord.
Yeah, like I think that's a really good point. And I think Jen and I had a little bit of a debrief afterwards. And I think if you've got a new rider coming in, you really have to be careful who you pair them with, as in who they're behind. Because that's where they'll push someone off, right? And so we've got someone on our team, Natalie, who's just like solid as a rock in TTTs. She's just, I don't know what it is. She's done them a lot. Like she does the Thursday ones, right? She's done those for ages. So she's just this kind of like force that sits there that just kind of, you know what's happening all the time with her. It's so nice. So if we have a newbie, I would put them behind Natalie, because even if they push her a bit out of line, she gets what's happening and she kind of adjusts on the go and she doesn't get like super frustrated. Whereas like there's other people in the team, you probably don't want to put them behind because they'll be like, oh, you're like, this isn't working. And then you get that kind of stress and then everyone kind of stresses out. So I think you got to pick who you pair them with.
Yeah, it got a little wild. Like the first lap, we were doing really, really well. And then as people started suffering or there was gaps that opened up and people overextended and pushed through too much. And one of our guys accidentally left his plays on and then it was out of control and they were working. And it was like, now we had to, it was like, it kind of started, and like and that's when we started. I noticed we dropped 4 kilometers per hour at certain sections where we were doing like it was crazy, but the power was the same, which shows you how much it matters, right? That how much it matters that you keep that speed consistent and you use the right tactics. But the funny thing is afterwards is somebody was like, you guys are so solid in some ways, but it's one of the comments came through. It's like you've been married for 30 years, the way you talk to each other.
Yeah. Because you're just honest.
Because when things get out of control, like at one point I was like, just shut up, everybody. We got 4K to go and we just need to, it's not time to talk about that. It's 6 on the front or get off. That's it. And I literally got intense like that. And I said, like, I kind of took leadership because all of a sudden the bickering started a little bit. And I was like, this is just they're going to start talking about the issues. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, and it just, so then I just said that. I was just like 6 in the front or get off. That's it. And then people started calling it out like off, because we were like 4K to go.
I love it.
It was so good.
Oh my gosh. So we had, the other thing I think works really well, I was actually talking to Em about this afterwards because they had an instance where they had a rider who kind of was yo-yoing and dropping at the back. And then another rider was like, wait for them. And then they were like, let's keep pushing. So there was a bit of like, discord about what to do. With our team though, like Christy was like a total champ, and then at one point she was just, I didn't even notice. She's like, I'm done, and that was it. She just said like, I'm done. She stopped. We just kept rolling, and it was like there was no discussion. There wasn't like I'm done, and us being like, no, you could do it. Keep on. It was like, nope. We're like, our team's here to win, and when you're done, you just say you're done and you drop. Yeah,
I think that there's a little. When people are really, really suffering in our team, we have a little bit. I think we have like I love it that the women are like, that's it, samurai, chop your head off, it's over. Whereas we're like these whiny dudes, like acting like we're oh my gosh, it's like getting way too emotional about it, like between each other. It's kind of funny. Anyways, that definitely was going down tonight. But we had a good race though. We took I think 5th in the TTT today. We had a really good. We won our ZRL this past week as well.
Yeah,
but
cool.
it was good. It was definitely good. Now I want to, part of the reason we're talking about TTT this week, for me at least, is also this CDA decrease. We're starting to notice and at least try some things with our team. We had talked about it in the past about ramping to the front. Nyquist had brought something up with Gabriella in the Riot team about doing this new tactic. And I'm not sure it worked out too well, but I think there's something.
Tried it.
I think there's something too, though, not exactly that way. Well, we did it tonight a little bit where we ramped through with speed over and over and over again, but it only worked on the downhills and for so long on the flats. And then we had to reset and we just kind of naturally did it where we found the speed and saw the speed, right? But it's more nuanced when you can't see it as easily. And we don't have any feedback in the game for the CDA decreases. Now, do you know about the CDA decreases? You know about this, right?
I've heard this. Yeah, because that came up on the pod a little while ago, like maybe like a month ago or 3 weeks ago. And or someone wrote it in the comments, in the YouTube comments after the show. And I saw that was where you went, huh? What? So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what we've been trying, and we think it's working, but we don't have hard data on it. But what I said was, why don't we, instead of jumping to the front and trying to get that CDA decrease right away by a jump to the front by too much wattage and then trying to hold and then losing it, instead, make sure that your turnover is very good at the front where you're instantly producing around 20% more than what you were prior, and your takeover is at the same speed that they were doing, and then increase by 20. and then increase by another 20% over your minute or 40 seconds or whatever might make sense. And by the end, because a lot of times I think people pull through really hard and then fade to just a sustainable. But my thing is no, increase from that what would have been a sustainable to your highest output at the end. And that will hopefully, we don't have the hard number feedback, but I think if we saw the hard number feedback or had a graphical expression of that CDA decrease, that we would actually see you always getting it all the way through that ramp up if you were able to hit the numbers right.
Yeah, I mean, on that, like the tactic of coming from back in the TTT, coming from the back to the front, we tried that a while back, and like I've got to say, like hands down, it doesn't work. And the reason why, in my mind, is because if you're the rider in 6th position, by the time you get through your team to the front, what is that? Like that's almost 10 seconds, I would say, that you've already been at threshold.
Yeah.
Then you get on the front. And then this is where it all falls apart. It fell apart for us. I could be proven wrong. I don't see it working because they get on the front. You're probably blowing by that point. You hold on for another maybe 20 seconds if you can. And then that next rider, how do you get that timing perfect?
Perfect, yeah.
That this rider is not dying before the other rider has made its way all the way up and not getting stuck on every single rider as they go.
Eventually the speeds are just too high. Eventually the speeds are, there's that too.
And then when that rider gets to the top, I think the shift here is that rider is absolutely dying and they've started to slow down. And this person comes up. And then now this rider, who is absolutely smoked and cooked, has got to sit on the wheel of now the fastest rider. So because the draft benefit may be high, but you've actually got to, as that second rider, keep at least on their wheel.
What if you did
so you're like,
we have 6 riders. What if you did a really fast echelon the whole time? Like you just cycled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because that, I don't think on a downhill it works. On a downhill, we had riders coming through at almost 80 kilometers per hour while the other riders were doing 70, jump on the back, didn't have to work to jump on the back. Well, 2 more were following the other one on his speed and then rolling through as well. And it just kept cycling really, really,
I get it
really
on a
well.
downhill. Yeah.
I don't know if you could somehow reproduce that at a lesser, you know what I mean? At a lesser velocity and a lesser power or something on a flat perhaps.
Yeah.
But now that's different from the tactic I've been talking about with like the good swap through consistent build of power at the front to try and get that CDA decrease always throughout your whole pull. 2 totally different. Actually, those are extremely different tactics.
Does this work with the TT bikes?
Yeah, that's the other thing is like, are we just thinking that like we're getting this CDA decrease and like
and you've already
on the
got
TT bikes, you actually don't get it at all? Like that would be really ridiculous. And I've been wondering about that. And like, I've been meaning to send a message, be like, hey, do we actually get the CDA decrease on the TT bikes? Please let me know. I feel like I do. Or maybe I'm just ramping up my wattage a lot and I'm going like...
So I don't know about that, but I think the reason I think we're a lot better this time and had such a good one was because you couldn't drop off your turn until the rider behind you had come up and had matched your speed. So I think the biggest place people lose momentum is when you're doing the switchovers, right? So say this person on the front's riding 44 kilometers an hour, and then they're like, I'm done. And so they come off, and there's this point again where they're drifting off, but the next person still isn't up to speed. So they drop, and then suddenly everyone slows down to 42k an hour. And I think that's where we did well.
You have to get that back. Yeah, we've been
You have to
really
get it back, and then it
on
keeps
that.
happening. Yeah.
We've been
I think if you're going to
hugely focused.
focus.
And then one thing I want to say there too is when other riders come through and disrupt it all behind, and there's reorganization that happens, that messes with the swaps too at the front, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like it completely can confuse them. And if the rider comes all the way to the front, that actually completely slows the whole thing down. Like, anyways, and I think you can lose 30 seconds to a minute if that happens 2 to 3 times or even like 2 times max.
Yeah. Because once you get that momentum going, like I say, poetry in motion, once you got that going, I was staring at our speed and I watched my live stream of it later. Like we never dipped below, like unless it was a hill, right? Like aqueduct. But you keep that like the churn, but in a way that you don't lose momentum. Like, yeah, you get it. Like drop the fast times.
Obviously, we're super excited about TTTs. This is like every once in a while we like do TTTs again, and we're like, yeah, this is okay. How do we do it? Like we're so nerdy.
Yeah,
we're so like
I love it.
This is so like I imagine similar to the get more arrow, wind tunnel type reality.
Yeah,
like how do we
so many moving parts and yeah.
It's fun. Good stuff. Well, okay. Next up on this, though, Zwift Championship details released. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it says on the thing, like, highly confidential material. But, like, I think this went out to, like, 1,000 people or something. Everyone who's invited. So I don't know if I think this is public now. I'm pretty sure that this is just public now because somebody's going to talk about it. Like it was in my people were in my chat talking about it. So I'm assuming that this isn't actually highly confidential because it can't be confidential if everybody who's racing got an invite now and they're gonna be talking to everybody that they know about. I'm gonna be trying to race for $1,000, in some sprint thing and 7,000 here and 8,000.
Exactly right.
So. It seems to me that this is pretty public at this point. Now, what's interesting is it looks like, from what the email said, that they are canceling, though, the qualifiers for the sprint competitions. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. So that kind of tells me that they've probably got the right amount of numbers of people just to run a sprint championship without the qualifier. So I think that's what it kind of tells me. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, I've got this book because I'm entered in these. And I had to do a lot of IRL testing and a whole lot of stuff. So I think it kind of probably, to be fair, will be a lot of people who do Grand Prix or people like me who would do Grand Prix, but the time didn't work. So that I don't think there's many of the me category out there, though. I don't think we would have added a huge amount to this. So yeah, but it's, I mean, I don't know where you want to go first, but the big thing I want to say straight off is a golden Tron. Amazing. I thought it was going to be.
What does that?
It's a Tron. It's a gold Tron. But when you say that though, I am they do have a yellow one and an orange one, so it's going to have to be a really distinctive one, maybe extra bright or something.
I wonder if it's going to Super Saiyan.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
That's literally the sound that Goku would make when he goes Super Saiyan, and it should have a vibration when you go by it. Actually,
when you go by, games just vibrate. Your plays vibrate as you go by.
Well, I don't know about that. That was that's even more intense. I just thought you have these world sounds, right? And then you go all of a sudden you roll up on it and you can hear the bike slightly whoa. That bike's got literal energy coming off of it.
That would be wicked.
When you go by electrical lines that are a little too hot,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And your hair goes crazy. Yeah.
And when you go by, people's hair should stand up.
So I've got there's a couple of things I'm excited about. Mostly they're just the unlocks is this golden Tron for the winner. Which please be someone from the community because I just want to see that Tron all the time. The other thing though is because they've got Wahoo, Oakley, Adidas, there's new Oakley sunglasses. So this is for the community rides too that lead into these elite ones. So you've got some Oakley unlocks and then also a new kind of Adidas shoe, which I'm quite excited about because I like to rock my Adidas shoes in game.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty, I guess. I'm just kidding.
Awesome.
How are they going to change up the current one? Oh, that's it. I think I see it.
Yeah,
it's in the book, I think. Okay,
so I think maybe that's different.
It's different. Yeah, it's very different. Okay, gotcha. Huh. Interesting.
The other new thing that's quite exciting is there's a few new courses. So the Sprint Champs, which is the Battle Royale, and I guess similar to World Champs, you have race 1, race 2, race 3. There's race 1 and 2 have 2 new routes. So loop de loop, which is 2 laps, 24K, 289 meters of elevation. And then race 2 is Jurassic Coast, which I am super pumped for because from what I can see, it goes through Titans and then into the new coastline.
Ooh.
So that'll be a really cool route. And then there's the one I'm also very excited about is a brand new route for the stage 2. So the next week after stage 1, and that is the Epic Champs, and it's an 81 kilometer right? And it goes like, it's got like Zwift KOM, Titans Grove, and then it goes all down the new coast. So it's got Woodland Sprint, Sasquatch Sprint, Acropolis Sprint, Stoneway Sprint, and then it goes into that uphill jungle. Then Titans Grove again, then a sprint, then the Zwift KOM, and then into the finish. I mean, that is a cool course.
81K, 878 meters of climbing, 2 cash preems, $1,000 each on Titans Grove. And draft, feather, draft. Those are the only power-ups, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do, right? Because you get the feather. We'll go through this, I think, in a bit more detail, but because there's a lot to talk about today, but you get the feather at Jungle Lap, which means do you use it on that uphill bit
big
coming
climb,
out of...
there's a big climb right in the middle of it that goes up the jungle climb. That's what that is.
Yeah. So you get the feather right before that, or do you save it and use it for the Titans
Grove
climb?
I mean...
Right, like if you want that cash money, you save that for Titans.
Of course you save it. I mean, the timing on it's going to be crazy too, because that way is totally different than the other way. Like that way up Titans is a very different, because the climbing is done pretty much from about 600 meters out. It gets really flat at the end. It's essentially like an uphill sprint. Versus the other way, you can the other way is kind of like that, but you still got to climb to the finish almost, you know?
Yeah, no, this one, I would say actually, if you're a bit smart about it, if you could save the draft from the first Titans, not pick up the feather and just save that draft all the way, you could use it in the sprint at the end. That would be better than a feather.
That's true. Huh.
Oh.
So the finish is uphill. Where is that finish?
I don't know yet. I want to, I don't know what profile that looks like. Apparently they're coming out with recon rides starting in a couple of weeks. I can't tell if that's up to... Actually, I have no idea, because you've done this Zwift
No, it's the hill. It's you finish at the top of Hilly Watopia forward. That's what it looks like. It's the exact same profile as Zwift KOM right before it. Because the lap arch is right there. What could be that close that's that steep?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So...
so you go up the long side of the KOM, down. No. Finish up the short side?
You might just double up the KOM twice in a row, but I think you're right. No, I think you're right. I think you go up the long side. What the heck?
Yeah, that's where I'm confused, because then you'd have to go through the S's to get back to the lap arch to then go up the short side.
Well, that is 75, 6K. How long? That's about 6.5K. How long is the lap? Is it 6.5K?
Don't know. Not sure.
It's only 2K.
Oh, there we go.
We're so confused.
I know, but it's a good course. And then the last one's Alp to Zwift. So yeah, that's going to be super
that's
fun.
all. I mean, oh my gosh. So there's 3 sprint races still, or is that right? Yeah, 3 sprint races. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Then that epic. Then the epic climb, or the climb championship race details. The climb's interesting. You just go up. You win a Zwift concept bike if you're first, second, and third, big money.
Yeah. So every race first is 7,000 plus the gold concept Tron. It's called Tron, gold Tron. Second is 5,000. Third is 3,000.
How do you feel about that? Like, I get it. Like big prize money, but I mean, as a racer, right? Like, I get that from an organizer point of view, kind of, but as a racer, I really, really see a ton of motivation from the top 10 at least to get paid out. You're showing up, it's a lot of work, you're focused on this for a really long time, it's your whole season, on an A race, and you're showing up with I don't know how many riders are going to be in these, 100, 200 of the top riders, and pay out to at least 5% of the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say top 5 could have been better. I'm not super phased by it, to feel like I'm not going to be anywhere near the top 3. But yeah, top 5 may offer that little bit of motivation. But then again, if you win, so all 3 weekends of racing adds up your points. And if you're first across all of them, you also get 10 grand
Yeah.
and a special Wahoo prize.
Yeah. I guess my point is that, see, I'm thinking of this from the way I thought about growing sport as a professional athlete is that professional athletes at this point in this, so there's different phases of growing professional athleticism. This phase of our professional space is prize money. No one's got a contract. Okay. So those amounts are so big in very concentrated spaces that you're only going to be supplying that prize to very specific individuals and probably the same individuals across this pretty consistently. Like, yes, you'll get outliers here and there, but it's not actually the prize money isn't spread out in a way that creates the chasing or the sustainability for all the pros. So that's where I'm thinking of it from that point of view, that like this wasn't thought about in a way that actually supports the pro Peloton growth. It supports like hype, that. You know what I mean? Rather than the idea of like, I don't have a problem with any of it other than that. Like, hey, like this from a pro Peloton growth point of view, since there's no contracts out there right now, it helps the pro Peloton to survive better when you make those things deeper. Cause you could spread this out in a way that would, if you spread this out, it's big enough money. It would still impact out to 5th or even 10th.
But if you went to 10th, so you've got 15K per gender. So, geez, does 10th just end up with like $200?
Yeah. But like, that's seriously like showing. So that's how it worked. I'm totally cool with that. Like, that's how it works. That like, yes, it's very small amount. Like at the Iceman, 10th place, I think gets like $350 or $500 or something like that. And first place gets $5,000. Like, and everybody's totally cool with that. Like even in the places where there are pro contracts right now, they pay out to like 25th to like place, like, and so there's motivation there to chase something, and people will chase for that. Like at Tour of America's Dairyland, if you get top 20 or top 30, you get $25 paid for your entry fee at least. Like, you know what I mean? And the top guy got $1,000. Like,
see, I kind of think I get it. Like I get what you're saying. I think so. Like when I was racing professionally, prize money for me was always like a unaccounted for bonus. Whereas my like quote unquote seller with who?
But you had a contract to race your bike. You had a salary. No. Okay.
Well, I had contracts with sponsors. I wouldn't call it my salary, but like the sponsor stuff was the stable money and the prize money was the extra. So
neither of those things exist right now though.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying is like, what I would love to see is like, if this can create enough eyes on the racing the Wahoo Lacole team, Wahoo goes, okay, we're going to pay you guys like a retainer, and then the prize money becomes like a fun bonus.
So Anna, like you were in a bigger sport than I even was. Like mountain biking was behind you in like how much money was there. So like I hear what you're saying, right on. And I did the sponsor thing and the individual sponsor thing and everything, but like you had more reach with triathlon. Like triathlon's just bigger than mountain bike is. It's way, way bigger, right? And so like as a mountain biker with a very small pool and a really we're fighting for every little thing we could possibly get. Like, I mean, we are, and like those little bits were godsends. I'm not kidding you. Like an extra $500 is like, oh my gosh, this isn't coming out of my pocket. We're making it. I can pay my rent. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. And there's people out there who are going after this in that kind of a way right now in some respects. You know what I mean? Then so that's why I'm like,
I feel like a little. Yeah, I get it. I get that. Yeah, I'd be very nervous for anyone going after esport as a career option right now.
Oh, totally. I don't agree with that. I'm not saying they should do that. I'm not saying they should do that. But okay, so then, like, what's the other option? Like, let's turn that on its head and be like,
Yeah.
so then there's just like people who have careers already making $7,000 to, like, really, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, chicken or the egg, like the flip side of that. You know what I mean? So only people who already got a career and like, and have the time to, and can just, are really well off and can spend a whole bunch of time riding their bike. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I've got to say, like, I don't hate this prize money structure they've got. The part that I really like, and maybe I'm sort of thinking like maybe they could do this a bit more, like keep it as first, second, third, or maybe get to top 5. That would be better. But I love the preems. I think that, because we talked about that in Grand Prix.
Totally.
Like, you give a preem to someone for being the most aggressive rider, what do you get? Freaking amazing racing. Like, you look at what's going to happen here with this epic race where you get 2 opportunities for $1,000. Like, I'm looking at that being like, man, if I'm around that group in the first
going
bit,
for it. You're going for it.
I'm not going to come top 3. So just go for it. And then, do you know what happens there? The whole race blows apart because the people who want to win are like, what the hell? People are riding 11 watts a kg and we're only 5K into the race, right?
Totally.
So it just,
and they might go up the road. You've seen breakaways get away off of sprints like that. So,
right. And also, like, this is
that makes it super exciting. That makes it super to shift there. So everybody knows my opinion on the prize money thing, but to totally shift there, the preems are absolutely like gonna blow this thing apart, especially with how early they come. I think the most hype racing out of all this is going to be that epic race because of how many objective points are on the course.
Yeah. So you like, it's going to be wild, like nuts. So I'm pumped for that one.
Now to call the sprint championship a sprint championship is kind of interesting with how attritional it is. I think it's very different kind of sprints. Like each one is a little different from each other, like a different kind of sprinter a little bit.
And I do kind of want to like juxtaposition this a little bit. And I'll preface this by saying, the My Whoosh World Champs, all that info got released and Virtual Velo was all over that. Chris Schwenker went over there. He was part of the press junket. So if you want like a really detailed look at that, head over to Virtual Velo. But from the sort of the bits I've read about it, the interesting thing is they've got a 3-race format too. But I'm looking at like, say, this championship. Race 1 is pretty much 25 kilometers. I think the My Whoosh one, race 1 is like really short. Like really short.
Yeah, and it's like FTS or something, or like, did you see that?
Yeah, so I was kind of interested in that because it's a similar format, but 2 very different ways. Like you said here, this is, I mean, there's a lot of studies coming out at the moment about athletes' durability and how important that is. And this is kind of the race that shows that, because the first one, 25K, then the next one is 20K with a climb. And then you hit the crit circuit. And that crit circuit, what is it? Like 15.3K. So I think that's around, how many laps is that? Oh, here it is, 5. It's very similar to that World Champs format. It's just very, very attritional. So quite a different, what I do like about that though, is that you're ending up in the sprints with people who'll be tired, and that essentially will show the best sprinter.
Ah, gotcha.
Mind.
I see. Interesting. Huh. Really interesting. Yeah, I definitely check out Virtual Velo. They've been all over everything when it comes to the My Whoosh. I honestly like, Gabby made a really good point this past week, and she actually did a write-up for Schwenker and the Zemina K actually on her whole esports career so far. And one of the things that she said to me this past week was like, she thinks the space is going to turn into like, I'm a Zwifter. Like it's not, it's that you don't have enough room in your gaming to do everything. Like, and to be really, really good and really, really know and really, really like, some people might jump all over the place that are like, probably like the super, super pro level, like, I don't even know about that. Like, will it get where Luminosity Gaming, right? Or Liquid have teams that are specifically just going after one thing that they're focused on. It almost feels like that's already happening, actually. Coalition kind of has this crew that's gotten together and is hanging on my whoosh, but like they also have another crew and they mainly do whoosh, it feels like at this point. And they also have another crew that's mainly doing Zwift at this point. Like I feel like it's already kind of happening where it's like it's really separating out into platform as far as the focus of those who are really serious about it, because you can't spread so thin.
I listened to a podcast during the week. I sent it to you, Nathan, and it was the Escape Collective podcast. They do like a weekly one, and they're like entrenched in real life cycling, and they were talking about esport, and it was slightly depressing because it made me feel like esport just hasn't quite got to the point of people taking it seriously. You know, like it's still got that feeling of like, oh, people are just on their trainers. Anyway, it got me thinking quite a lot about sort of that question, like, would you have someone who is like just a esports Zwifter? And I think the answer is yes. And I think the demographic of that would be really interesting, because I think it'll be people who, because you'd kind of go like, if you're a 22-year-old and your power numbers are exceptional and you're winning all this Zwift stuff, why would you not then go onto the road and try and do that, right? And probably the reasons would be is that you're not in Europe, because it's really hard to get there and go to Europe. So I kind of see it like when I look at the crowds of people on there, if they're from Europe, and I could be proven wrong, but it seems to be people who have raced professionally or have done something professionally, and now they're like early 40s, late 30s, right? And this is a great way. Ariel Verhaeren would be like a really good example of that, right? Like absolute professional BMX racer, but now is at a point where like she's got a family, and Zwift is like meets that competitive outlet. And so she would be a focused Zwifter. But I guess, like I think you would have focused Zwifters, but the demographic I would be really interested in to see who that person is. Because say, for example, we've got someone on our team who's only like 17 or 16. Now I don't think has got the mentality of like, I want to be a Zwifter. She wants to be a professional track and road cyclist. And that means in real life. So I almost feel like there'll be like a young element who are trying to get discovered, and then a group of people who have done the in real life thing and are now focusing on Zwift. So that's kind of how I see it a little bit.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, will we ever build that crew who echoes the idea of, it was said in relationship to like, don't make regional teams in the Overwatch League. This is a quote that, because we don't need to be regional, we're online. That doesn't make any sense. Like, we don't need to be the Dallas Stars or whatever. We don't need to be the this or that. Like, this whole space is online. And I wonder, in the same kind of vein of thought of like, will we ever have a crew that's come up and that is like, I don't need to go to Europe. I'm just going to race here. You know what I mean? I don't need to like change my entire life, travel over there and sacrifice everything else in my life completely to go race my bike in the Pro Tour. Now that's that's an amazing thing to do. I'm not downplaying that at all, but that's a completely lifestyle, like not just lifestyle change. That is like all you do. You know what I mean? Like literally for 10 to 15 years of your life or whatever, maybe 5 years of your life. That's it. You don't really have, and one advantage of this space, if we can get it to where it really has that efficacy, it really has that dig in, this is the real deal, is that you don't necessarily have to do that. You can do, you know what I mean? You don't because it doesn't have the same time, resources, and just resources in general to put the show on. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's very different in that respect. So but I mean, there is the idea of in real life events as well, but even with just in real life events, it's not like you have to have a helicopter in the air. So
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, it all crucially comes down to for it to be financially viable for people to be pure Zwifters and have that as a profession, like a pro Zwifter or pro esport racer. We've got to get eyes on the sport and our eyes growing in the sport. I don't know. Like you'd know that way better than me from your viewership numbers. But, is this a product that, and that's why I'm going to be looking back on the Zwift games that they're broadcasting and be like, who is watching this? Because if the numbers still on the Zwift YouTube channel hover around like 5 to 10,000 views, I don't know if that's enough to make it like
I
a
don't
viable.
know. No, and
Yeah.
I think the truth is like we need to, like I said a few weeks ago, it's not about seeing people on trainers. Like that's not what it's about. Like that is an addition to what will make this entertaining. What will make it entertaining is the same reason that esports are entertaining in general. Something has to be playable, but it has to be playable in a very viscerally like cycling manner where like it just like the thing I said about the CDA decrease, a very simple thing where you see a graphic going by the avatar because they're doing 20% more and you know that they're doing 20% more. Whoa, he's going Super Saiyan. Like that little graphic would make the game more entertaining to watch. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, and if you add those over and over and over again, where it's recognizable, where it just makes sense, like it just like, boom, it looks like this is happening and this is happening and that person's doing that. And it's very matched to the effort from the in real life rider without having to even see the in real life rider. Then you got a product, I think, that will be entertaining.
Yeah. I think as well, and Abby Mickey, who is one of the other commentators on this Escape Collective podcast, where like probably the other hosts were like ripping into esport a bit more. And she actually said, hey, wait, guys, because they said, why would I watch the racing? It's so boring. It's just, I'm paraphrasing. It's so boring. It's just a power test. It's just watching people do power tests on their indoor training. She said, well, wait, no. There is strategy and tactics. You get power-ups. You've got to decide when to drop them. You sit in a draft. You've got to know when to go. You've got to know like the ins and outs of the course to know like the best places that you could attack. And so she got the nuance that they didn't. And I'm like,
but that's because she played the game. Because she played the game, I think. Yeah. I don't think though. I think the other guys just trained on Zwift. From what I heard, it sounded like they just trained on Zwift they really weren't into the racing community either. You could tell that they were very separated. And as soon as someone gets into the racing community, I got a friend, Stacy, that I introduced her to the racing community. I was like, well, here's what, and as she's starting to get it, she's getting more addicted. And I can tell she's like, oh, so that's how, and then she gets a podium and she's like, okay, now I'm getting how it works. And now she likes watching it a little bit more. You know what I mean? And like 2 and 0 is like, oh, that's cool. Now I see how it works when I watch your Twitch. Before I didn't get it at all. It just looked like an exercise. You know what I mean? So it's the same reason why Apex players watch Apex. It's the same reason why Hearthstone players watch Hearthstone. Like your community is going to be the ones. And then reaching outside of that will be like, the broader reach is a little bit harder thing to do. That's for sure. And esports in general is trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I think so. I think a huge part of this too falls on the commentators, like, because I think they bring that. Nathan, it's all up to you. But like, there's some who do it really well and there's some who don't. And I think you need that esport voice in there to know.
You put too much pressure on us. No,
but like, so when like my dad tunes in, right? He doesn't race on Zwift, but he gets it when he listens to the commentary. Like we've just talked about this race and we can immediately see like, oh, wow, would you save that power up? Because we know that hill has a flat portion at the top. Now is a draft better than a feather? Now what's the risks of that? Now that is interesting. Like that is strategic and tactical. What do you do? And I think that's where commentary can really play a part. And I know like say Josh Lipka pulled us up on it actually when we were deconstructing a Grand Prix race where KK had gone off the front in Richmond, and we were like, why has she gone off the front? And he rightly said like there was a team tactic to like let the sprinter sit in. And I was like, yeah, like I think if you know that. And I think I was watching the women's UAE stage last night, and again the commentary at the end, if you're just watching it literally, like you're just like, cool, like this is just a bunch of colorful jerseys heading to a finish line. But because they're calling it out, that's the world champion. She's a good lead out. That person behind her, they're going to be doing this. There's one right-hander leading up. They're going to want to have the front position. Whoa, there's been a flyer off the front. So it's kind of, I think that would make a big difference to the people watching it, like get them in the heart and soul of what this is.
Yeah, and Karsten's coming in. Is it only appealing to other Zwifters? No, I don't think that at all. And I know that there's individuals actually who like, I get messages from them that they tune in to ZCL and they don't even Zwift. Like they literally just watch and like the ZCL content just to check it out. So I don't think that's. I know that there's individuals out there, but I think that the larger the community is of individuals who are racing that are interested, it will be infectious. It'll have the growth will reach further through the passion of that community, Karsten. So, I'm speaking directly to a viewer, but you know what I'm saying. Like, So anyways, that was a long drawn out Zwift games. A little bit of a side bunny trail there, though, on, can this be? And I think that there's something more to, though, one other point, and I'm not trying to be, I really love the Zwift games. This is really cool what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
It's the pinnacle. I would say it's like a Dota International. It's like an Olympics. It's like a really, really big show. It's not the structure. And I think that that's where there'll need to be something more that comes in. So we'll see I don't want to talk much more about that one though. We'll see in a couple of weeks more about that one. So let's move on though to because we could go on and on about esports, where it's at. We do all the time. The Zwift games is the latest thing in this whole space. But Wahoo Kickr Core Zwift 1. That's like the longest product name you could ever come up with. But it just got launched the last couple of days. You were super excited about this.
Oh my gosh.
Why were you so excited about this?
Because I was literally budgeting in to buy a new Wahoo bike because, as you know, everybody, the issues I have with just like, my chain is making noise. My gears aren't indexed right. I get like, and if Jen Real listens to this podcast, I get so jealous that she has a Stages bike and it's quiet and there's virtual shifting and it's solid and it's weighted down. And I tried a Stages once when we were trialing it. I was like, this is amazing. Like the virtual shifting, which my feelings, it's a performance enhancer for racing on Zwift. Absolutely a performance enhancer. If you don't have that, like,
really?
Yeah, 1,000%.
Oh man, this is super controversial. You should have heard me in my Twitch tonight because before I did a long warm up and this was a big conversation, and I was like, go like I was like so like quit whining about it. Just use the gears you got. I've used them both. It's not that big of a deal.
It is a big deal for you. In your Grand Prix race, you dropped your chain.
Yeah, why'd you drop your chain? Because I made a mistake. I made a huge mistake.
Would that happen with virtual shifting?
I've had issues with virtual shifting though. I had it drop out.
Okay, well,
Well, then I got a chain drop and a drop out. Come on, like, oh no, it doesn't work. Okay, got it. I see how it is.
Okay, so like when I look to that Zwift games and I go Alta Zwift, 100% chain of difficulty, I don't want to be changing my gears, like actual mechanical gears.
Yeah, I get it. I get that.
I just want like a nice clicky button and it to feel nice. For me, having virtual shifting in a smart bike or a cog potentially is the same feeling to me, I think, as if I got on a ride every time and someone had freshly done my chain. Like, I think it's just that smoothness that I get when I do a real good job on my chain and it lasts for like 3 rides and then it kind of deteriorates.
Okay, I guess then like my pushback is like, do you have a problem with it being an advantage though? Like there's like I heard like pitchforks behind this a little bit. Like
no,
not behind you, but like I kind of had this sense of like, virtual shifting's out there now and I don't have it and it's such an advantage. I'm like, okay, sorry, but like, so is Eagle, and like, you know what I mean? And so is this, and so are deep dish wheels, like whatever.
No, so it's an acceptable advantage. Like
Totally, gotcha.
I'm extremely jealous that I don't have it, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, everyone should have it, otherwise it's not a fair playing field.
But what if it's not for sale in your market? Ah,
which it looks like that's changing from this
does.
Wahoo thing.
It does. But like,
yeah, so I think that would annoy me more, but that's why I was so excited about this news, is because it looks like it's opening up everywhere. Thank God Zwift is letting the hardware go. They're mothballing the Zwift, what's it called, hub.
You can't even remember its name. What the heck?
Because it's like, now I've switched to the Wahoo. They're doing it on the core. It looks like even in the next, it seems on DC Rainmaker's post, in the next 3 days, like they are basically the V7 and 6.
What?
Yeah, like they're updating firmware. So you won't have the cog, but you just keep it in the same chain ring and you virtual shift.
Yeah.
So they're immediately kind of rolling it out pretty quick. I know that I'm on a V5 or V6, can't remember, but that's kind of rolling out. It looks like from DC.
Wait, like V7, was that actually said, or like you guessing?
DC Rainmakers, he said it looks like this will be, and then like it would be tonight. Like was his reply to someone.
And he said V7. That was the language he used.
Oh God, I need to go back and check. But
because
yeah, it definitely wasn't
because like
mine.
V6 and V7 like means new hardware though, like a new, or is it just?
No. So what he's saying is that it's you just keep your chain in one's place and then use the virtual
I just want to make
shifting.
sure, like, I was like, okay, so it's not actually, but it's like having a V7 in the sense of like, that's how big of a change this firmware is. That like, whoa.
Oh, sorry. Is V7 not a thing?
No, it's not a thing.
Oh, sorry. I mean V6.
I was like, what are you talking about? You said V7. I'm like, okay, there's no V7 that anyone knows about, just so everybody knows.
V6.
I was
V6,
like, whoa,
V6.
Where did it say this? Okay.
Oh my
V6.
gosh, sorry.
There's too many versions.
V6. So V6 should be ready without like the hardware component of buying it with the cog.
I got it. But I was really confused there. Like, holy cow, don't go buy it. I was like, because we're like thinking about getting like the new stuff in the house. Like, okay, this changes my whole plan now. But no, it doesn't.
No. But I am jumping on actually so this is great news. So first off, amazing. I'm like, you know me, I think it was like months ago. I was like, when are they doing this? And you were like, oh, maybe sometime. And I was like,
I've been testing the Zwift core for like the Zwift core, the Wahoo Kickr core Zwift 1 for I think a few weeks now. I went as soon as I had working virtual shifting, that's when it works really well. Like now I actually have gears on my mountain bike and I can full gas sprint now on my mountain bike.
That's so cool.
Totally awesome. Yeah. Like never move a gear.
The part that I like is, again, I just don't have to worry about chain annoyance. And also my kid's bike can go on there and we can just do this all together. But I am also looking at the Wahoo Bike Shift, which got released last November. So I'm still leaning towards a smart. No? What's wrong? They're really quiet.
Yeah. Well.
What's wrong? Do you know something I don't know?
I don't know. I don't trust it. I don't know.
The bike?
I just in my like, it's like in here somewhere. It's like, I just, I
saw it. It's got really good reviews.
If you can't use it can you use it in GP level?
Yeah.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I know one of DC had problems with it matching his power meters, but like Llama and stuff said it's been great. So anyway, I'm getting on one on Sunday to like give it a little try and be like, do I like this?
I'm just not, I don't know. Like when the prices come down, I'm like, something got cut somewhere. Like somewhere.
Yeah. So do you know where the big saving was with that is that it doesn't have an integrated rise and lower.
And that's it. So is it like a V6 or what? Because they measure it differently. It's a different way it measures in there.
But one of the huge costs of the other Wahoo bikes is the moving up and down part, because you're moving a whole expensive bike up and down. And the feedback was kind of like, I kind of don't really use this that much. And
Yeah,
so they took it out.
totally.
So that was
totally.
one of the big things. And then there was something else that I was like, I don't care about that. So anyway, I'm trialing one because I just love the idea of having a bike because of this.
I would be afraid. Okay, I'll be super honest. I would be afraid that later it'll be DQ'd from use at top level. That's what I would be afraid
Dude,
of.
I'm I'm so when I'm like, there's a point here where the whole reason I want it. I mean, I've still got a whatever the Wahoo.
So you have the ability to still race.
Yeah. I just
switch
race
it out,
on the
not care. Okay, cool, right on. Like, but if it was an all-in moment, and I know you're a ZGP rider, I'm like, I don't know, maybe. Like, I would be a little bit.
Yeah.
Where
I mean, with the way, and I hope esport is going, and we just talked about, so I won't go on a huge bunny trail, but with the competitiveness that's now there, like, man, I'm turning 42 this year. I've got like a lot of kid responsibilities.
You're like, I don't care. I want my quiet shift. Come on, that's it.
Yeah,
quiet,
I love
Kickr shift.
Yeah,
nice and smooth. I don't need to big money on it. Shut up. I don't need to care about the accuracy.
Exactly, right? Like, yeah, but it is listed on the championship.
It is. Okay, cool.
If it's on Grand Prix, so yeah.
Well, then if it is on championship, then it's good. Then it is good. So, all right. So what's up with Kickr Run? You wanted to talk about this?
Okay, so like
this is a total like not even cycling thing. So like this is just Anna getting to talk about her thing. Okay.
So sorry, all the cyclists who are listening, you can tune out for the next however long. But I want to say this Kickr Run coming out is the equivalent of when smart trainers would have been released.
Seriously,
it is
really
that much of a game changer in the treadmill market. Like, I kid you not. Like, it is. That is the degree of it that it is a game changer. So forever, like, I feel like since the 80s, whenever treadmills come out, there has been no or minimal enhancement on treadmill life. Like, it's just a treadmill. There's nothing. You got the elevation, you got the speed, and that's kind of it. Even integration with Zwift, it's kind of like there's no integration. So you just set your elevation, you set your speed, and whatever. This is freaking amazing. Like, I'd go see DC Rainmaker's video on it because that's what kind of blew my mind. But there's a little special camera that is at the front. The closer you get to the front, because what happens on a treadmill is when you're running fast, you naturally get closer to the front of the treadmill. It changes the speed to match how you're trying to go faster. Then if you slow down and you move to the back of the treadmill, it starts to slow the speed. So it's like the smart, intuitive treadmill. Then the other thing, and he showed it on Zwift, and it was amazing, is that it has a negative gradient on the treadmill. So he was running up the rolly bits of epic climb, and he was running up the steep bit like 10%, like drifting to the back of the treadmill, and the treadmill's slowing down. It gets near the crest, it goes down to -3, and he's running, and because he's running fast,
how are you making me want to run? You're like making me want to run on Zwift now. Like,
yeah.
What the heck?
It's amazing.
So, and the accuracy is super accurate now because it's just what you're actually doing. It's not off a little pod. It's just what the speed is, and you have to run that speed that the treadmill is doing.
Yep. And you've got the option to manually override, so with the speed, but you can kind of let it intuitively flow.
Yeah, I mean, it still doesn't stop people from like, well, there's a camera on it now, so they're watching you.
Yeah, but I don't think like
I mean, it doesn't stop people from like just putting their feet on either side of the treadmill.
But I think we need to be like super clear. And in my opinion, there is no future. I mean, I shouldn't say that because I get so proved wrong.
Oh, there's people who are being super competitive about running right now in duathlons that WTRL put on, aren't there? Or no?
But you've got to go. Yeah, but you've got to go into those with like a complete understanding that who cares, the numbers could be completely wrong. There's not that degree. And most people would run on Zwift for the workouts and just being running and having something interesting to look at. And this makes it an immersive workout. Totally, it is enjoyable. It's created this like environment of a software system linked to a hardware system. That's what I mean. It's like a smart trainer. So when you first got on a smart trainer and it increases the resistance with a hill,
Yeah, we just take it for granted now. We just take it for granted.
Yeah,
but
imagine that first one.
Yeah, it was totally like, whoa, this is amazing. I'm actually experiencing this.
Yeah, so it's that. So this is what it is. It is hefty though. It's like $8,000 New Zealand. So
yeah, 5K. I saw 5K USD, I think is what it was. And there was some pretty big feedback about that one. I saw a lot of comments. What do you think? I mean, is that too much? Like, is it overpriced or?
So I get, so my treadmill that I use is $1,200 New Zealand. Like, it's pretty cheap. And that's why, like I said, there's like zero enhancements in this space. So you're just buying a super basic thing. I also supplement a lot with outside running. So I don't really care. But it's a space I'd watch, like it would be like if this did what I think what it's going to do is push everyone else to do better. And hopefully everyone else doing better makes a more competitive market. So I'd come in at the price point of 5,000 New Zealand. So about $3,000 US, but yeah, 8,000 for me. New Zealand is just a bit,
a lot of people run indoors. A lot of people run indoor. Like, I wonder, looking at the gym, I feel like that's a bigger market than those who cycle indoors. But just at the gym, though. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But are you ever going to get people to pay a subscription to run indoors that isn't just at their gym? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to this, like.
Yeah, because how big is like I have a treadmill, but I don't think it's super common. Everybody not everyone. Most fit people I know have an indoor bike trainer. Almost everyone, but not everyone has a treadmill. That would be
it takes up a lot of space.
Rare.
It's really loud.
Yeah.
They're pretty expensive.
Yeah. But anyway, very exciting space in the running one. And that pairs up with that survey that came out a few weeks ago from Zwift about what you'd want to see with running. So for all the runners out there, it's an exciting space to be in.
Do we need to reiterate again that there is no V7? Because
I can see the chat.
Our chat
was like, I bought a V7 on Alibaba. I'm like,
we're really getting crap about that. Now they're already going on to the V8. So you can go get that at your local grocery store, okay?
Yeah.
Go get your vegetables. Jeez. Oh my gosh.
Let's see. I'm too excited with the announcements. I get all like, it's not the V7, it's the V6, everybody.
All right, so let's talk a little bit of a downer, kind of. Zwift staff reductions and restructuring seems to be happening. Big announcement. Kurt Beidler leaves, CEO, co-CEO. Now Eric Min taking the helm back. And the numbers and reductions, I'm not sure what they are, but we heard 100 plus or some I don't know what exactly they are or anything, but what's your initial thoughts on what's going on here?
I mean, I guess my initial thoughts are like, man, that sucks for the people who have been let go. Restructures and all of that is just like a real downer. So I feel sorry for everyone who lost their jobs. That really, really sucks, especially in this environment. I guess I think I've seen in the US, like, I don't know what the job market's like.
A lot of tech is getting big hits right now. Yeah, still, like it's a lot of what the words right sizing are going on still around the tech booms from COVID. So
so I feel sorry for them. But if I look at what they're like, if I take that part out and look at overall, I think this is a good decision from Zwift to be a bit leaner and meaner. And I think there was a bit of distraction. You can see that already with the hardware side, that thank God they've had a handshake with Wahoo and left it to them to do the hardware stuff and integrate that way. I've gone through like the Zwift Insider article on a whole lot of comments that have come in there. And one of them, I think, kind of sums up how I feel, which is that I hope that Zwift now prioritize just taking care of some of what he thinks, and this is from Travis, who's on the comments, a seemingly simple, low-hanging fruit out there. So prioritize that over grand sweeping improvements for a while. So I love this, close to my heart. Things like being able to organize our garages, change our jerseys, bikes, and helmets from the companion app while not in game, customizable HUDs, being able to block other users. I don't know what that means. Tagging and notifications.
I think the ability, like any chat feature that has like the ability for someone to speak to you in any platform. Do you know of any platform where you can't stop someone from speaking to
Yeah,
you?
true.
That doesn't
Yeah.
exist anywhere else.
Yeah. Tagging and notifications. That's one we've talked about a lot. So that's kind of, that's what I think.
That person kind of really went on for a little while, like had a list that
Yeah.
was really well drawn out. It sounds like.
That's what I think. Like, and I agree with it all. Like new roads and worlds, some virtual shifting. So he's kind of, I kind of go with that. Like new roads are awesome, but yeah, some of this just real simple stuff. Just we don't need grand master plans here. Like just sometimes nailing the basics is great.
Hmm. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I want so I first of all like have a lot of friends who at the company that have been impacted, and they will all, I think, one of the main things is a lot of really talented people are caught in the middle of an org restructure where it is
Mhm.
right sizing. This isn't about persons and whether they're talented, or whether or not they were able to do a good job. I think that there's, just realities of like trying to meet the demands and the needs that can be met within a software company that needs to focus on the product that is the software very intentionally right now, right? And that things can
Yeah.
turn into a giant octopus sometimes, where a lot of talented people who are all over the place, you know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
this is like bringing things in, maybe. And so, I mean, I think it is good. It's always good to get focused and lean. You know what I mean? And especially if it's
Yeah.
needed. So at the same time, it probably doesn't feel very good though for a lot of individuals right now. So that's the part that sucks.
Yeah. The part that's interesting to me is and I'm not a tech person. Like I'm not in the tech industry. I'm in the sport industry. And the tech industry is always interesting to me, especially for companies like Zwift that aren't public and rely on investor funding. Is that, I remember it was a couple of years ago, Eric Min was like, we want 1 million users, or there was this huge big goal, right? And I just wonder sometimes
I
with
think it was
tech,
10 million. I think it was 10 million.
yeah, it was huge, right? It was
Yeah.
massive. And
Yeah.
it's almost like you've got to have that to get the investors jazzed up and wanting to invest in your company because they need to make money from their investment. And I think sometimes it kind of makes a company like lose the way a little bit because they're like, we want to get 10 million. So that's like scattergun, like we'll do it all these different ways, and like tech people seem to be very enthusiastic about like amazing things, right? And like the big shiny objects over there. And I feel like that's kind of maybe what's happened a little bit. And just the base level of offering is a bit boring, like we want to, like our big goal is to have a really good user experience. It doesn't sound as sexy, right? But I feel like this maybe is, and maybe like what you're saying, if that's happening in the States where tech industry is kind of leaning everywhere, maybe that's kind of what's happening is people just want something good rather than something phenomenal.
It's a good take there. Yeah. And focusing, like, I think those, if you read through the comments, the one that you pointed out there has got a really good take on that. So, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 3 months or so, 6 months. I think that, when you have leadership changes and teams reorganized so much, you end up with new aims. You know what I mean? You do end up with, ways in which projects are going to be really, really, really focused on, most likely. And so I'm interested and I'm waiting and with wide open ears right now about like, okay, where, you know what I mean? Now, because obviously this was sudden, I think, to a lot of people. And so with how sudden it was, like, is there super, super like intense direction? You know what I mean? That we're going to see in some sort of a way on very specific things. And like, how is that going to be communicated? And what are we going to hear about that? So that'll be really interesting because I think that's one of the things we'll see is from this is as things become less disparate, you'll get more focus on very specific things. So I have a feeling we'll hear a lot about that. But that's just my take, like watching. You know what I mean? I don't have anything besides like, what could be going on here? You know?
I'd be quite interested. Sorry, there's another comment there from James Eastwood, which, I'd take his comments quite seriously. Like he's been around the blocks on Zwift for a while.
James, he's also a tester. I mean, he's definitely somebody that's been here and has a lot of criticism from passion, I think, a lot of times. So I'd love to hear what he has to say.
So he said Zwift is a marketing company first, not a product first one. So a marketing first, not a product first. And because it was in response to a comment of someone saying like, maybe they just cut the sponsorship of Mathieu van der Poel and all these like big sponsorships they're doing. I'm like, obviously I don't want them to cut the sponsorship of the Tour de France femme or Paris-Roubaix femme, but I kind of see that too. Like that's got to be expensive. And I don't know if we'll go into another pod, but you look at kind of Zwift Academy this year, we're down from like 5 qualifiers to 3. Like it seems like that. I mean, it just seems like that budget might be coming down too, like the kind of big promotional side of what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, my opinion was on the Zwiftcast 5 years ago that Zwift 2.0 should have been started right at that moment. And that like the product, Zwift is extremely successful in this space. And they are the leader. They've done a great job of because there was no one else to provide a solution for what somebody needed, right? It was perfect timing and a unicorn that was like ready to provide for all these people who wanted to have something fun to do while staring at their garage wall, right? And because of that, you could, if you produced a good enough product and then marketed the crap out of it, you get everybody doing it, right? And now you have a critical mass of community that makes it a really healthy business from that marketing, right? But like, I've said time and time, like again, like imagine if we had Unreal Engine 6 right now with a full-on triple A game. We've done the research in the last couple of years, and I think it's 50 to 100 million. If you want a triple A game, $100 million, all the bells and whistles over 5 years. I mean, and you're talking all the bells and whistles, right? That's the high end price, right? You can get away with 50, and like, you can just take guesses at some of the marketing campaigns, right? So like, anyways, you just do the numbers there. You know what I mean? Like, so, I'm just spitballing, but I don't think I'm too far off, No,
I think that's right. Goes. Yeah.
So anyways.
Yeah. So I think that's, I'm just interested to see how this shakes out.
So I wonder if the pivot then is going to be more toward what we're kind of getting at here. Yeah. Like maybe, or I don't know. Like, I've said this a lot of times too, and I'm kind of echoing myself right now of like, you've got all the cyclists. Like what cyclist doesn't know about Zwift in the world?
Yeah.
Like you got them. Like now what are you going to do? Market something that like is a solution for people who already want to ride something because they're staring at a garage in the wall? Like you ran out of those people, and now the rest of the people might not be that interested in the product that you had for that solution. Right. But you've been marketing and focusing on marketing to those people for the last 3 to 5 years. That, like that kind of gets into a weird situation then.
Yeah, because then you're basically admitting that maybe there's not a whole lot of growth where we're at, and maybe our focus is on just having a really great product so our current user base doesn't go somewhere else.
Yeah, well, and that's great. And like keep bringing in the cyclists, don't get the churn on them. And then I think if we want to go further than that though, like and become general fitness, like it's got to be you need more of what we were talking about around the esports side of things. Like what we were talking about making it more fun, interactive, like, you know what I mean? Like visceral in that sense. So anyways, that was a shooting from the hip. Okay. So dropouts in racing. Let's do these next two really quickly. Cause I want to do these quick. Can we do those?
Sorry, I just heard noise and I thought I had a child running down, but it was just my husband. So we're all
Telling
good.
you that you don't have time to do dropouts in racing.
He's like, our dinner's here. I'm like, okay, cool. So, okay, so this is a question to the audience, and please PM me or come into the live chat or somehow let me know, because Jen, Reel, and I had a big, we're totally different on here. And I'll give the exact example is in the USA, the last Echelon Racing League a couple of weeks ago. There was a pretty small group. There was like 5. Gabby was one of them, and then the usual suspects. Gabby had a dropout, like a hard, I don't know what it was, you'd know. I'm assuming a connection from like your internet provider issues.
I don't know what happened, actually. I'm trying to think back. Like all of a sudden, her direct connect lately on that, I think that internet, the Ethernet on that port has just been going. I think for some reason, and like just has a reset or something.
So it was a short drop. Like I'll give 3 to 5 seconds. It looked like it dropped out, but she was 20 seconds behind by the time she got back actually moving her avatar. So what happened in the next period of time was one of the riders kind of pushed pace to kind of like 4.5 watts a kg. So the group's pace kind of went up, and it looked like it kind of stuck around the 18 to 22 seconds for a while. And then probably after about 5 minutes, one of the riders just hard attacked off the front.
Yeah, Elise went for it.
Elise, yeah. I don't have a problem with that, because I'm kind of like, I have a little bit of a problem with the dropout happening and then someone pushing pace for a while that made it almost impossible for the Gabby to get back on. But I also have the old, like, that's racing. Like, I kind of look at what literally happened in the cyclocross race the day before that, and Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert were like together. Van der Poel crashed on a corner, and Wout van Aert's like, booyah, I am gone.
I'm
like,
winning this one. Yep.
Hard, catch you later.
And then he crashed later too, anyways.
Well, he rode without a bloody seat on there. I don't know what happened there. And then you had like, the week before that, Lucinda Brand crashed, literally broke her nose off, and Puck Peters rides by and is like, I'm going. I kind of am like, it really sucks. It's happened to me. I've had a dropout in ZRL, and you're like, ugh, damn it. Jen believed that the group should have waited. I kind of get what she's...
So one thing that changes a little bit, and this is something that's interesting about virtual racing, is you can see everyone all the time, which is totally different. Like, not saying that changes the rules or the expectations or anything. It just changes the ethos and the emotion of it, right? It changes how it feels, because, and this is also a response to somebody about like Sauce the other day. Is like, imagine somebody being able to see your bike computer the whole time you're riding. I'm like, well, I can do that on Zwift. Like, I literally just go click on their avatar and I can see all their numbers. Like, that's a part of this space.
I literally do that all the time.
That's a part of this space. So it changes. Like, and I think this is related, that you can see everyone and what's going on with them. Whereas in a race, like, somebody gets a flat, like, sorry, dude, don't see him. Like 10 seconds later, he's out of my mind. I'm bye. I'm going to race. Yeah. Like, so. And
I think, and just FYI, Gabby's come in and said, keep going. Like, you don't stop. And I think, like, I don't know. I said to Jen, if that was real life, and I actually just
now if it was the yellow jersey and there was a huge thing on the line and they were the race leader, or it's the series leader. Gabby's not the series leader. There's no series on the line. Like, sometimes there are unwritten rules that you don't have to follow, but it's like, it would be good sportsmanlike conduct to not win the series on that dropout. But this single race is a different thing, right?
So this is how I'd say, like, so exactly my point. Thank you, Nathan. So the example was given. What about when Pogacar crashed and Vingegaard waited for him on the descent and they had a little handshake and kept going? Totally agree. I get that. The example I'd give here that I would think someone should wait is if, say, Elise and Gabby were off the front. They were like 5 minutes off the front. Like, they couldn't, no one behind could bridge. They were way off the front. Elise and Gabby are off the front. They're heading into the last 3 hills of Richmond. So it's a crucial point, but they're in that sort of flat, long part. Gabby has a 3-second dropout. and there was a lot on the line, I would say in that situation, Elise could wait, because she's like, let's wait. Let's make this a good competition between the two of us. That sucks. You've had a dropout. I'm not going to attack your dropout. Let's just attack each other, hammer and tongs on the 3 climbs coming up. That I would kind of get. Like, I'd understand someone waiting there and why I might say wait. But yeah, like Zwift racing, like I've got to say, like if I was in a ZRL race and there were 5 of us in a lead bunch and one had a dropout and it wasn't my teammate, I'd be like, oh, sucks for you.
Yeah, and here's the other thing is, like, at what point too, like, I totally get that, and all things being equal, there's so much nuance to this, because I'm thinking back to a race I had in real life, and one of the top competitors, Brian Motter of the Wisco Disco, shows up to one of the last races, and we went head to head at Lake Geneva this past year. I mean, I went bonkers the first lap, dropped everybody, dude. And I'm looking back and I see Motter 10 seconds back. I mean, he is full gassing, burning every match to get back to me, and he closes it, and then we're like climbing the climb up the ski hill. Everyone's looking at us like, dang, dude, it's going to be those two, the old school OGs. And this was like an OG battle, right? And he digs, I dig. It's bam, back and forth, back and forth. And at what point all those digs were trying to get an advantage, Mater crashed on the last lap. Should I have waited for him? Because he didn't wait for me when I jumped off the bike and had a mishap and had to jump back on it. He put a little dig in. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, and I get it, like those are a little different in the mountain bike scene because you made a mistake and you crashed or whatever, but and like some things are uncontrollable. What if I got a flat? Like, or what if whatever? Like, and so it's like very specific situations where it's sportsmanlike to do that. And it has more to do with like, are all things equal right here? And are you actually going to win only because of that dropout? And then it's like, well, you have a choice, but it's not wrong to keep going. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
like I think, so I was fine with it. Jen, on the record, not fine with it. But I think so I don't know where people sit, but I kind of look at it as like, if you have a dropout in game, it really sucks. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, it totally sucks.
But unless you're with me and we're the only 2 out the front with an enormous gap to the group behind, I'm probably not going to wait. Also, if you have a teammate with you and you have a drop, your teammate should go and drag you up.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like if you looked at Paris-Roubaix last year, where Wout van Aert had a puncher in the last cobbled section. I mean, I didn't see Van der Poel being like, "Oh, I better go wait." He had another Jumbo rider with him, and he's like, "He can go sort that out. He should go give him another bike or drag him up." So yeah, I think there we go. That's my opinion.
I do think there is a so I always like the equations of how emotional like rightness plays out with us in some sort of way, like how we feel about this stuff. Because I do think there is a method to where people are like, yeah, but there's this one situation that really it feels like that's when people should wait. And I do think that the thing with when there's major things on the line, like those examples with the Tour de France, the unwritten rule that like, well, you don't want to win the big whole thing just off of that. But it's not like we're going to sit here and sit on the side of the road while the Peloton goes by us. You know what I mean? Like, and the bounty car's back there. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? There's this nuance behind it all where there's actually a story and a narrative that shifts and you can feel whether or not like, are you a villain or a hero at this moment? Yeah. And like, it's kind of that like, are you taking an advantage you really, really kind of shouldn't be at this point anymore? Or you're totally still a hero here and you should just go, dude. There's nothing you can do about that person's misfortune. And I think that's kind of that line is like, is it just misfortune? Sorry, bye, gotta go.
Yeah. And I think like I absolutely draw the line of so I gave the example, like if I was in a triathlon and I rode past a competitor and they had crashed and they were not in a good way, would I stop? Absolutely 100% of the time. Like I will always stop to be like, are you like okay? Like, are you literally all right? If they're on the side of the road with a puncher, like That's part of it. That's like,
why would I stop? That's just going to screw up my race. Like,
well, seriously, like
there's no reason to stop then. Just go.
No. Before Ironman races, I would practice tire changes religiously until I got it below 2 minutes. That was a strategy I used. If you can't change your tire and still be competitive, that's on you. Like, and I got to say, like, a little bit with connections on Zwift too. Like, if you haven't dialed in a really good connection with your trainer,
we've had to work on it, and still, like, even within my household, like, whoa, sometimes like things come up. You got to really find those things.
Yeah, so that's part of the game too, is like making sure you got a stable connection. So anyway, there we go. Do you wait? In my opinion, no.
I agree. I agree. I really do. I mean, even in situations where somebody has like an issue, like I'll attack still. I'll be like, whatever, dude, I'm going. Like, I'll be like, yeah, but like, no, actually, right. So I like, not always. No, I gotta say, I've gotten nicer. So, cause I had a dropout though in Tour de Zwift this past week, and Jordan Shane was there, as well as, from your neck of the woods. Oh, come on. Really fast guy from your neck of the woods. Thomas Berry? No, old school, a little bit more old school, but I'll find it. But, and I need to control it, but I was like, oh, whatever. That's not real. Getting mad because they were attacking me after I had a dropout. Right? Like, but I don't think they knew. I think they didn't know. And I'm 6 seconds, 12 seconds, 20 seconds off the back. And then finally I get going again. And I'm doing 6 watts per kilogram, just head down, dying everything I could to get back with these guys. I get back and they keep attacking me. And I got to the point that I was just like, yeah, I just let it rip. And I apologized. I totally apologized and like was like, you guys were freaking awesome, actually. Thanks for the workout. You pushed me afterwards. It's so funny after all it's done, you thanked them. But you know, I was pretty mad that they were taking advantage of me in that situation. But I look back at it and I was like, they couldn't have known. Like, they had no idea, and they're just trying to race their own race. And in the back of my head, I'm even thinking, Nathan, you might not have been attacking up there, but you wouldn't be like waiting for you. You know what I mean? You wouldn't
I think that's the difference. I think you don't attack it, but you don't wait. Just keep riding your race. And if I look back, there was a really unfortunate dropout for Elise in the USA Nationals. Do you remember? She had a dropout right on the 23rd Street climb.
Nobody waiting at that moment. No
way. But no one was attacking. They were just literally attacking the course. That was a point of the course. They were racing. Yeah. And she's gone. Like, she was a minute and a half back. So yeah, that's racing. Maybe don't attack the dropout, but don't wait.
Hannah's setting the standard for everyone. I love it how she's like, you don't do this. That's it. You must listen. This is it.
That's my opinion. Everyone do whatever you want. Whatever makes you feel good.
Okay, Jersey pick of the week. There's a little bit of a leak by it about like a big spin thing. I don't think we're gonna talk about that. We'll wait a week, I think. You really want to talk about it?
I will just give a little hint. I saw this in a really random place, and it looks like there's a big spin event coming up soon, and there's unlocks galore, like amazing unlocks. Like one of them is this. One is this insane bike. Really crazy. Looks like a old 1950s Chevrolet attachment to the bike. So super ugly, but just like amazing.
That was in Zwift Masters PCR, Zwift PC Masters group or whatever. Like, I saw that in there, and somebody dug into the files and found this crazy looking bike.
And also a huge unlock that I told our whole team they have to get headphones.
Oh yeah. Headphones. And there's a bunch that sounds like there's whatever.
So cool stuff. Way better than the Tour of Zwift unlocks.
Oh my gosh. It was Mark Bostad in the Tour de Zwift. It was Mark Bostad and Jordan Shane. Okay. Were just smashing it, dude. Like, they were demolishing me. I think.
Please tell me this was the Tour of Zwift race, not a group ride.
They were racing. I said I showed up for a freaking just hangout ride, and they started racing like maniacs on Knickerbocker, and I was like, guys, that was part of the reason why I was so mad. Is because I was like, this is just a ride. I'm gonna freaking coffee stop you punks. And then we got to 30 minutes, and there was no coffee stop. I was so mad. The coffee stop was bugged, and I still haven't reported it, actually. I need to go report that. Like, Because I was like,
Oh my
those punks, they attacked me after I had to drop out. The moment we hit that climb, I'm coffee stopping the climb. And then it wasn't there. And everybody laughed at me in my Twitch stream.
Oh my God. I cannot believe that was a story from a group ride.
It was literally a group ride. It was literally a Tour de Zwift group ride. The same one like yesterday with Jaden Yeager and I off the front, Mike Schwartz, and some dude on a Z-Power called Z Alps. Dude was on a Z-Power cadence sensor thing doing like 5.6. Oh my gosh.
I wish my son had been in your ride because he rides Z Power and pretty much rides like 10 watts a kg the whole time. I'd be like, you go beat that guy there.
Oh my gosh. It was like, and then he became this like so Restart was there kind of in force, the Restart Racing. And all of a sudden, Jaden and Mike were like kind of using that guy to try and set up slingshots. And next thing you know, they're off the front by like 10 seconds. It's like, oh no. And I was like, fine, I'll go. And then I went and got across to them. And then next thing you know, I'm racing Restart. I'm like, why am I racing Restart right now? It's never a ride. Tour de Zwift is never a ride.
Never a ride.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
What is this thing? What is this thing?
Okay, Gabby sent this to me from a group ride where she was smashing people off the front too. Awesome kit, actually. From what I can see from a little bit of, it's the Cycle Nation kit. From what I can see from a bit of research in their Facebook page is it's a South African like cycle group who has a presence on Zwift, and this kit's amazing. So it's like it really reminds me of the LEL fruit Fondo kit, which is also cool. So super bright, like navy blue to a emerald green to a pink to a yellow to a red, and then with just a whole lot of crazy designs on it, like a picture of a bike with a sunshine and a T-Rex and a pineapple and a sock and a smiley face. And yeah, it looks really cool. The way it kind of looks like a kid's kind of drawn over the top of the jersey. Which
Where are they out of again? Where are they out of?
South Africa, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And the navy blue shorts, which look very, very stylish in game. So yeah, great kit. I'd give this an 8 and 8. I'd give it an 8.
I do like this kit a lot, actually. This is pretty cool. I like how the changes in the colors go there with like different feelings across each one of them too. They kind of like change up how the characters are on each section. That gives it a little bit different feel. Also, the dinosaur, the pineapple, and then is that a glass of wine or is that coffee? I feel like the dinosaur is having coffee with the pineapple.
Oh, it looks like a pina colada or something.
Maybe with a little person. There's like a little person having.
Oh yeah, a coffee with a dinosaur.
Yeah, with the dinosaur. Just for that, I'm giving it an 8.5 because the dinosaur is having coffee with a person. And the pineapple's going to fall on the person, though. So you better watch out. There's like a whole story going on there. Speaking of stories, you can also, we have a submission, but we didn't get it in. We're so sorry. We will get it in for next week for sure, because it's not on my list right now. But submit your non-player character stories. They're starting to come in, and we absolutely love them. The last one we got was absolutely hilarious. We will get it into the next show for sure. Please keep submitting them. Gabby's got a couple of good ones as well. She's discovered some pretty fun characters out there. If you don't know what a non-player character is, it's just the NPCs that are out, the people who are out there that are walking around that are not actually people in the Zwift worlds, and they look like they have these little stories of their own. Well, go make them up. Do some people watching and let us know what you think. You can submit those over at zwiftcommunitylive.com/podcast, as well as your jersey picks and stuff. We sometimes feature them if you do submit them. Although Anna is so on top of it that like she's like really passionate about her jersey picks, just so you know, guys.
Love
well,
it.
That's going to be it for us here, everybody. Again, this is also a podcast. You can download it by checking out zwiftcommunitylive.com/podcast or search the Wrap anywhere that you do download your podcasts. And Zwift, the Wrap and Zwift, it should come up really quickly. This has been episode number 81. We can talk about what you're doing for next week real quickly so that everybody knows.
Yes, us gonna do a swim and a long run tomorrow, and then next week ZRL 3 laps Innsbruck ring, which I'm quite excited about. So it'll be great, and some really hard workouts that Claire has given me, And that's probably about it. Feeling
Your
a lot more
training
relaxed now.
is extremely organized compared to me, Anna. I am just racing my bike and doing base, and racing my bike and doing base, prepping Gabby for Zwift games. And that was also my opportunity to say, hey, Canadian National Championships this weekend. We're going to be doing highlight reels during the live stream on Sunday from all of the Masters races and the junior races on Saturday. So we'll be recording those and bring those into the live stream on Sunday. It's Canadian National Championships live on ZCL here Sunday. That's already scheduled as well. So I'm mainly doing that all weekend. That's a major undertaking, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm super excited to be partnering with Canada Cycling. Or is it Cycling Canada? One of the one way or the other. I always get that mixed up. But besides that, that's probably all I'm really doing, focused on, and then racing ZRL actually. So thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been episode number 81. We will see you next week for episode number 82 from Anna and I. Thanks a lot for tuning in as always, and ride on.